Now where we left off last, we had just removed the front and rear wheel from my 2006 Buell XB12R. Now, to give you some background, the previous owner or the owner before him, someone had a mismatched set of wheels, so we had an orange anodized front wheel, which I believe is stock for this bike, and there was a gray wheel in the back, so that was probably taken from another Buell XB model, but it fit. It's still for an XB12, no problem, but the colors didn't match. Now the reason I found out the colors didn't match is both wheels were black, and I can tell it looked like they had been plasti dipped. So when I was wiping the wheels down one day, the plasti dip actually started to just melt away on the rear wheel, and then I saw the gray exposed color and it just looked horrible. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get both wheels matching, so I had the front and rear wheel powder coated, and I just got them back today, and I can't wait to show you how they look. Alright guys, so here they are. We've got the front wheel here. Just take a look at that black. I think it looks great. And here's our rear wheel. I had them do the pulley as well and get a nice little close-up for you of the brand new wheel bearings. So anytime you do this kind of procedure, you're going to want to make sure you get rid of your wheel bearings, because once you take them out like that, it's so easy to get a new pair. You might as well change them. Now I did make a mistake, however, when I was removing this wheel. Just out of habit, I grabbed my front brake lever, and unfortunately I accidentally clamped the pads together. So before I can reinstall the front wheel, I'm going to have to pry these apart somehow, and I think I'm just going to end up bleeding the front brakes. And as you'll see in the rear, I didn't press the rear foot pedal, so we still have plenty of gap between the pads in the rear. No problem there. What I ended up doing was I went to cycle gear, and I actually got a brake bleeding kit, so we are going to do that today and hopefully get the wheels on. Alright guys, I'm not sure if you can see this very well or not, but you'll notice that the brake pads are now separated, and I had to extract a little bit of brake fluid to get a flathead screwdriver in there just to pry it out. And when you do this, keep in mind, try to be very careful with the brake pads, no gouging, anything like that. But overall it's pretty easy. So let's go ahead and get these wheels back on, and then we'll tighten everything down to the Buell torque spec, and then I will be re-bleeding the front brakes. Alright guys, and there you have it. We got the wheels back on, the brakes are bled, and man, do I love the way this black looks. Came out great, and I'm really glad that I did the pulley. Definitely worth it. The only hiccup I had along the way was when I was backing out this bolt right here. As it was coming out, it actually stripped the threads right out of the little backing plate. It's just this cheap little metal plate there. I'm either going to re-tap the hole. So right now I just have a screw in here and nothing in here. It's pretty rigid, just tightening this one down, and it can only move so much because then it's going to hit the swing arm. But I may try to re-tap the hole in the mounting plate. Otherwise, I may just look online and see if there's another one. It's got to be a relatively cheap part. But overall, everything went great. The bike's a little dirty, mostly because I discovered this problem while I was trying to clean it. So I want to get this thing cleaned up in the sun. Right now it's probably about 10:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. So the next beautiful sunny day here in Florida that I have, I'm going to shine this thing up and hopefully get some cool HD shots for you guys.
2 hours later.
Alright guys, so luck would have it that after taking the bike on its maiden voyage on a quick trip to the gym, unfortunately the Buell would not start. Now I'm not quite sure what the issue is. It seemed like it just wasn't able to turn over. I didn't hear any clunking or any weird noises. I think it's something electrical, whether it's the battery, fuse, engine temperature sensor. It could be a throttle position sensor, I'm not sure. But thankfully, David from Just the Other Dave is actually going to help me trailer the bike. I'm really happy to have him here, and we should be able to get it home and hopefully figure out what exactly is wrong with it. Alright, so we managed to get the Buell back to the garage, and I'm hoping I know what the issue is. So these Buells have the occasional grounding gremlins, and you can see one of the main grounding points on this bike is right there. Right next to the steering down tube, if you want to call it that. And these are the two grounding cables that come off the harness. And over time they can get corroded, and you can see we've got a little bit of junk on the frame itself at the grounding point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut these terminals off and install one new terminal. And I'm going to actually file down the grounding point to get rid of any corrosion. But something I noticed was when I went to unscrew the bolt holding these terminals on, it was actually pretty much hand tight. So I think the engine actually vibrated the bolt loose, and that was causing my grounding issues. Now I disconnected this before disconnecting the battery, which don't ever advise doing that. But after having done that, you can see on camera some of the dash lights are flickering, and I'll post a video showing sort of what was going on with the bike. It was giving me a bunch of check engine light error codes. It was restarting the start sequence multiple times. The fuel pump would keep priming over and over, like it would begin to prime, and then it would start over, and the X-up, I don't know if it's an X-up system, but whatever the exhaust valve motor is up here, that was restarting as well. So it was like it was just looping the start sequence, which made me think it was probably a ground, and I believe the main ground point for all that stuff is right there. So I got some supplies. We're going to go ahead and try to fix this ground and see if that solves the problem. Alright, so just to get a close-up of what we've done so far, we have cleaned up this grounding point here with a file, and I removed the old corroded terminals and used my wire stripper to strip some fresh wire from both grounds, and we are going to be splicing these together. I should be soldering them together. I don't have a soldering iron, so I'm going to do the old school twist. I may come back here eventually and solder them, but for now I'm just going to do the twist, crimp, and heat shrink, and hopefully that does the trick. Alright guys, so my bike has been with East Orlando Harley now for I would say a little over a month, and they did make some good progress with the bike. I think they traced down to what was causing the grounding. So they've become a little bit swamped with their schedule as far as bikes that they're having to repair, and I've got some extra time off, so I'm actually going to swing by and pick up the bike a little bit early. And I think that we can really wrap up this repair at home, and it's really only fitting since I basically did everything for this bike in my garage. And I'm hoping that it's just this little wire that they discovered was pinched, and I believe it all makes sense because I started having the problems after I removed the wheels to have them powder coated. So I believe I pinched this wire by the cover, the front pulley cover, and who knows? Let's pick up the bike and see if this is the fix. Alright guys, I got the bike back from Harley. We are headed back to my house, and hopefully we'll be able to get this wire fixed. Alright guys, so we got the Buell back in the garage, and it feels like we're back to square one, but I am hoping that is not the case. So while the bike was up at the Harley dealership, one of the guys noticed that this wire was pretty smashed. Now at first I thought maybe, because he sent me a screenshot, I thought maybe it was burnt or melted, maybe it got caught in the pulley area, because there's really just this small little feature here that separates all the cables from the pulley. But when I looked closer, it looks like I really just smashed it up against the little mounting point here for the pulley cover, because you can almost see the outline of the tapped hole here. So did this cause the short? Maybe, but I'm a little bit skeptical, but I am going to cut this open and see if there's any short, and if I have to, I'll fix the wire and then we'll try to start it up. They also gave me a brand new battery. My battery was under warranty and it sat for a couple months, so they did replace the battery for free. Additionally, they also gave me, so this is the old ECM, the one we thought was fried. They gave me an additional ECM. This is off of, I googled the part number, and I believe it's off of an M2 Cyclone Buell, and I haven't looked up what this one is from, but he gave me these free of charge. I'm not even sure if they're cross compatible, but this is the brand new ECM that I gave them to try to install. But my concern is this was installed before actually fixing the short, so we may have in fact shorted a second ECM, but there's only one way to find out. Let's cut into that wire and see what's going on. Alright guys, so I cut out the pinched piece of wire. The wires didn't look like they were actually broken, but they were extremely pressed together, so I don't know if the insulation was just thin enough that it was causing the short. I don't know, but what I did was I just did a quick splice, kind of just to see if this will, fix the problem. It could be the sensor itself. So there's a vehicle speed sensor, which this connector goes to. The speed sensor is actually right here. It's held on with two cap screws back there. So the sensor itself may be completely shot, need to be replaced, but we won't know till we try to start it. So I'm gonna put that new battery in and try to fire it up. Ladies and gentlemen, we have liftoff. All right. Check engine light. Alright guys, so as you saw, the motorcycle is running great. This little test setup I had worked perfectly, so I am going to go ahead and remove these little connectors and do a more permanent fix. And we're going to button this thing up tonight and hopefully go riding tomorrow. So let's do it.
I'm alone, I'm a broken home. I gave you all the bricks that I own and know. I'm letting go, I'm breaking these walls down, breaking these walls down. If you want adventure, then fly to home. But if you want to travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. I'm tired of the pain.
Alright, so we've got the wiring all tidied up. We've got our pulley cover on, so it's time to move on to the airbox cover as well as the forward cowling and all the final pieces like the mirrors and turn signals.
Demons dwell, my own little nightmare, I call it hell, oh well. It's time to get back up, climbing and climbing, I'm done.
Just like that, the Buell's ready to ride again. Now, this whole fiasco was my fault because when I was reinstalling the wheels after powder coat, I did pinch the vehicle speed sensor wire with the pulley cover here. You got to be really careful in this area because there are a lot of connectors, wires, cables, all sorts of things that you can pinch very easily when reinstalling this guy. So even routine belt maintenance, just be very careful with this pulley cover. But other than that, I mean, I put the old ECM right back in and it started up just like that. So I'm very happy with finally getting this thing back on the road again. I think I'm going to go hit a gas station, fill it up with gas, call it a night, and then tomorrow we're going for a ride. Alright guys, I just got back from my ride and the Buell is running flawlessly. I want to give a big shout out to East Orlando Harley Davidson for finding the pinched wire behind the forward pulley cover. And thank you all for following along on this Buell XB12R build series. It was an awesome bike to rebuild and it's been an even more fun bike to ride. And I'm really excited about the future of the channel. I'm getting ready to kick off a new series, and that should be coming up here within the next couple of weeks. I am getting married in the middle of December, so you'll see a little bit of a delay between the next upload and now. But I'm really excited for the projects that are to come. And thanks again for checking out the channel, and make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell so you're notified whenever I upload new videos.